This is the Crystal Chronicles, your Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia podcast, with Erolai, Kreese, and Mark, bringing you all your DFFOO news and talk. Welcome to Season 4, the LGBT era. Now let's start the show.
Welcome everyone to the Crystal Chronicles, back from our sabbatical for 2 weeks, our holiday break. Thank you to BC, Zeno, and Mino for streaming in the interim. You can check those out on video on demand and on the podcast. I am your host, Mark. Welcome to episode 134, recorded this January 7th, 2021. If you are watching on YouTube or on the Twitch VOD, you see both Mino's Spellgood screen and mine on stream as we are live for the Xande event in about 30 seconds. So we'll do some polls and then Mino will brace himself for Lufania, I am sure. But it's not just me and Mino's screen. It is also my good friend and yours, Erole. Arrow, how are you doing today? How was your holiday break?
It was really great. I spent a lot of time with my husband and my two cats. I hit over 200 subscribers on YouTube. Woohoo! Super hype. We got my capture card working, so I'm finally doing commentary and pool videos. So it's been a very, very, very good 2 weeks for me.
Check out another pool video with Erole. Hey, we're also joined by Kreese, who has been a little bit incapacitated over the last couple weeks, but is with us today. Kreese, how are you doing?
I am doing okay. For those who missed it, I got a radial nerve palsy the day after Christmas, which basically means that I have lost some motor function in my right hand and right wrist. Beyond that, I'm doing fine. Hopefully, I have physical therapy for the first time on Monday. Hopefully, that'll start helping with that, and hopefully I'll get a neurology appointment to help with that afterwards. It's moving along. We'll see. I'm optimistic.
Well wishes for Kreese. That is a really scary thing. And there's a lot of scary things in our world, in our nation. So let's just back away from that for an hour or two. Pull our Xande pulls, as Mino's pulling on stream already. Below 1 million gems. Mino has officially crested over 1 million gems. 3 gold orbs in a row, though, but it's not going well for a Zell EX and a Ico EX. I'll let you know. He's pulling with gems for Xande because he loves Final Fantasy III. And he did a wonderful evaluation, which we will reference here later. But let's talk a little bit about DFFOO since we've been gone. We've had all kinds of different events. And we've had not much else. You can, if you haven't, the oldest, I think it was the first costume, correct me if I'm wrong, the Cloudy Wolf, I like to refer to it as, 4 gold orbs in a row. Xande EX, no LD or BT. The Cloudy Wolf, Cloud's costume from Advent Children, probably the oldest and most repeated costume we have in DFFOO.
No, that's Yuna's costume.
Oh, Yuna's was the first. Okay. So Cloud's definitely has been repeated a lot and it's fairly old. But if you did not pick it out, it's a sharp-looking costume, and it goes very well with his BT sword, which is the fusion sword from Final Fantasy Advent Children. So pick that up if you're interested in. There are some gem packs, and there was some holiday packs. At this point, if you're a newer player and really need ingots and all that kind of stuff, sure, maybe for you, but definitely the Moogle Pass is definitely the way to go in terms of investing. But there were some sale packs, so check out those if you're looking for stuff. There's early January Chocobo panel missions, and there was the New Year's login. We got 2,000 gems a day if you logged in for the first 3 days of the month, and we have some daily bonuses and the New Year's Chocobo panel mission. So if you're looking for any help on the Chocobo panel missions, usually if you play the event, you do the co-ops, you do the lost chapters, you're not going to have any problem. Just make sure you bring the right characters, make sure you do your golden cactars a few times, make sure you do Jake says it does go with his fusion sword, but not all of us got it for free. Well, sorry, Jake. I got 2 of them for free. If I could have given one away, I would have happily done that because it would have been great for the stream. Unfortunately, that's not what happens in this game. Mino's still going at it for those of you listening at home, but another gold orb. So some good pulls, just no LDs yet. So yeah, just check out. Make sure you bring the right characters. For this one, there was a couple kind of duds in there, so make sure you get your magic pots. I think you needed to get 3 of those and everything else. If you're having trouble or you want to do it first day, DissidiaFFOO Macnol always has Chocobo panel guides. Well, we're gonna go. Whoa, there's Xande LD. I think Mino. Oh, is Mino going for the BT in this? Mino, are you going for the BT? Cloud's BT.
So, I don't know. Should I stop? This is pretty early.
That's pretty early.
It's another 360 G tokens.
Do you want Cloud's burst weapon, or do you have enough tokens? Do you have enough?
I have tokens, but
I mean, are you chasing any? Are you chasing any other burst weapons recently?
I don't know. I don't know if this is the stopping point.
You're pretty early. You might want to do the event and think about it. I mean, it's not like you're
If I get dupes now, it'll save power stones.
Oh, that's true, because you are running out of power stones. How many do you have? 500?
Oh my god!
You've got 1,000,000 gems. Either token it or keep pulling. I mean, you got 1,000,000 gems.
What else am I saving my tokens for?
Exactly. Worst case scenario, you use your tokens and you still have 1,000,000 gems to pity some other burst weapon if you really want it, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest.
All right, let's go for it.
Boy,
for the stream. For the
always
stream, let's keep pulling and see what happens.
That is exactly the opposite advice of all 3 of us. So all 3 of us.
Pulling,
all 3 of us told you to use your burst tokens.
No, he should use his gems. He's got 1,000,000.
All right, so Mark, same situation you're in. If you've done everything, you've got the whale pass. You have pretty close. You got like 1.5 BTs and tokens.
Yeah.
And I mean, like how long does that last? Like if you token now, I don't know, how long does that last? That's 1 how long does it take to build back up to another 50 burst tokens? And how many are must pulls later down the road? I have no fucking idea.
Well, I can't answer that. Yeah, thank you. This is nice things for all of you at home who are like, how do I manage my resources? Well, we're helping Mino.
I have a question for you, actually. So, Mino, how many of them do you have from the Start Dash banner? You know that we're going to get that Start Dash banner upgrade, and you're going to get the chance to pull for Squall, Lightning, and Cloud again.
So I'm just missing Cloud on that start banner.
Yeah,
so I was like, might as well pull it now, because what's the point of later, I guess, right?
Yeah, I'd be here for Cloud. I mean,
what's the point
if you wanted these gems, this is a good time to do it. You can get more Xande dupes and save yourself some.
I mean, you'll still be over, right? Worst case scenario, you'll still be over 900,000 gems.
Yeah, gems are worthless. Everyone in chat wants to see the pull, so let's just spend gems.
Okay.
All right, here we
go. Mino's chasing the pity. Everybody, remember, we don't encourage you to do this at home, but he did wait till the last banner. So if you're gonna chase a burst, always wait till the last banner, especially if there's free pulls. So he did what he was supposed to do. If you're going to chase the burst, he's got 1,000,000 gems. Remember, if you have a lot of gems, you can do these bad decisions. If you're struggling in your gem count, don't do this. But let's talk about Cloud, since we haven't been together since the Cloud event, and Mino is pulling on the Cloud banner.
Mino, I missed the stream. How well did you cover Cloud in that stream?
We didn't.
Amazing.
Yeah, we didn't share it anywhere. We didn't share that stream anywhere.
You didn't share it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to cover briefly.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah, I can cover Cloud briefly. I mean, the nice thing is that the way he works hasn't changed. He just has a new button to push, which is pretty cool. I mean, everything he does is better than it used to be. He just has a new button to push and more ability uses. So now I think, Mino, we discussed it on an off stream, but we don't think it's possible for him to run out of ability uses anymore, right?
I guess theoretically.
Theoretically, if you play terribly and you never use his EX, you could run out of ability uses. But I think in most reasonable play, it's not realistic that you will actually run out of ability uses for Cloud anymore. But let's actually go through what's happened. Cross Slash and Finishing Touch have been changed mechanically in how they work. Both are now Brave gains followed by Brave plus HP dumps that repeat, that are followed up finally by a Brave gain based on HP damage HP damage done, and then a final HP dump. And then Finishing Touch does its launch and has all the nice quirks that it usually does. So Cross Slash has the paralyzed chance, or the guaranteed paralyze if it occurs after a Finishing Touch. Finishing Touch extends existing buffs by 1 turn. Finishing Touch now has splash damage and makes other targets launchable. So it now has a splash component to it. Cross Slash now has 2 more additional uses, which is the reason we were saying it's now theoretically impossible for Cloud to ever run out of uses, because, again, you're getting free ability uses out of his LD now, which I'll get to in a sec. So yeah, Cross Slash and Finishing Touch both became much better buttons. Meteor Rain hasn't changed. It's just a very strong AoE. You want to push it every once in a while. It's basically an every other turn button for Cloud. Number 1. Number 2, it also gives him his unique buff, which is a max Brave bonus and an I Brave regen, Mako, which he wants to maintain. It's pretty big for Cloud. And finally, he has the new LD Blade Beam, which gives him a better Brave plus, a better HP plus, and it's an AoE Brave plus single target HP attack that does splash damage, delays all targets by 2 turns, and gives him a free ability use on his next turn. Which, as I said, that's part of the reason he can't run out of abilities. In total, he has 10 Cross Slash uses, 4 Finishing Touch uses, 4 Blade Beam uses, 4 free ability uses after Blade Beam, 2 additional ability uses, a fast recharging EX, basically every other turn EX. Cloud is not fast. Even after his passive updates, he's still not very fast. It's basically, he has way too many ability uses. Yeah. And now, if you got his burst, his burst is Omni Slash version 5. It's a single target attack. It does a lot of damage. Remember that all of Cloud's abilities do more Brave damage if they critically hit. Cloud has a critical hit rate up, so that's notable for him. Also note that Cloud has a World of Illusion weapon. Sorry, I went off tangent on the BT, but I want to remember to get this. If you want Cloud to be at full power, buy his World of Illusion weapon, fully limit break it, equip that passive because it gives him the on critical hit, he dispels an enemy buff once per turn. You want that because it's really big. Anyways, back to BT, Omni Slash version 5. It's a big single target attack. The burst effect increases critical Brave damage, increases Brave limit, increases critical damage dealt, and increases Brave overflow. It's a pretty nice effect. So it's really strong. Anyways, Cloud isn't much better or much different. He just has a new button to hit, and he does more damage than he did before. You're not going to play him any differently, except now you'll use Blade Beam sometimes as a delay tactic. Yeah. I got his LD. I pitied his LD. I did not go for the BT. Because I learned my lesson last time I went for a pity on a BT. So yeah, I've been having fun with LD Cloud. He's pretty solid. Just remember, he is pure damage / utility. He doesn't bring any auras. You need to provide other characters to work with him. He does. Also, keep in mind that he is mostly range damage, with the exception of Cross Slash. Cross Slash is melee. Everything else in his kit. So he is mixed range melee. Melee is his additional ability, his skill 1, his Brave, and his HP. Everything else is ranged, so keep that in mind. He can run into issues against melee resist or range resist foes, unless you bring someone who can enchant and peril. Cloud has that issue going for him. He is weird mixed damage type or ability types. Other than that, he's solid. He is pure damage with some mixed utility. He doesn't have guaranteed paralyzes on each Cross Slash. Keep that in mind. Unless you want to roll the dice on the 35 paralyzed chance, make sure you've recently used finishing touch and you have cross/plus up. Other than that, I think that's everything for his kit. Realistically, you're never going to run out of the buffs for his finishing touch. They are generic though, so they can get pushed off if you bring another buffer, so watch out for that. Anything else I missed? I think I got all of his stuff.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Mino is still pulling. He's approaching 400 G tokens for those listening at home. Arrow, what are your thoughts on Cloud?
Definitely have some thoughts I'd like to share, but I think this is a good time for our community spotlight because I'm going to talk about a certain someone who has been running Cloud in Lufinia before this rework, and that is John Belmont. And John Belmont has a whole Cloud saga. Not only has he been running him in Lufinia, before the rework dropped, he did a big, long video using Cloud in every single Dimensions in stage we have. So if you really are excited as much as he was probably for Cloud in this rework, I would definitely check him out. I'm going to post a link to his YouTube very soon. And honestly, I think Cloud in this new rework is awesome. Like, I have actually really enjoyed having the LD. I think it's really fun trying to figure out how you want to time Cloud's plays. It's a really cool dynamic, and I have to agree with Mino's review. He is the ultimate Swiss Army knife. Like, you need some launching. Okay, Cloud's got you covered. You need some paralysis. Oh, he's got you covered. Multiple HP dumps. Oh yeah, he's got you covered. Like, all over the place. There's just so much good going on here. But I have to agree, the mixed kit thing is a little weird, being kind of like a mix of melee and range. So when you do run into those situations, you are going to need to bring some sort of enchanter and periler to hopefully get around that problem. Outside of that, it's really hard to dislike him. He's always, whenever he comes back with these tuning passes, they never do him dirty. They have always been very good to Cloud in this game, and you can't ever go wrong building Cloud at any point where he gets a tuning pass, whether it's a rework, new weapon, whatever. You can never go wrong grabbing this as a choice on your roster. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Mark.
Yeah, well, I was going to actually say the exact same thing, and I think Mino said it in his evaluation of Cloud. You know, Warrior of Light is the Dissidia franchise protagonist, but we all know Cloud is the Final Fantasy face. He is the, golden boy of Final Fantasy. He is the protagonist of protagonists. So every time Cloud comes around, he's always going to be good. Every rework he gets is going to be good. His 35 was good. His EX was good. His EX realization was good. His LDBT is good. His LD board, the ultra mega super weapon, whatever, it's going to be good. So he's always a good investment. We know he's in good investment going forward on Transcendence. People used him the first tier of Transcendence. Maybe not a 500
G token.
Maybe not a 500 G token, but definitely, Lightning and Cloud BTs of the early BTs, definitely high on the list. Squall, when he comes back, nice too. And of course, they all come back, which is nice. They get their LD boards and they get a little extra boost. So Shuntoto and Vaughn and several others coming back, Sephiroth coming back, and then, of course, Paladin Susso. So for
those not watching
that
Twitch
was
chat, by the way, Mino did say, guys, chasing BTs is for idiots.
Yes. Don't chase BTs. Mino just did a 500 G token pity of Cloud's Burst. Definitely not encouraged, but he had over 1 million gems. He now has just under 900,000, but he did get it.
I think
that is worth it.
I think Mino's now joined all the co-hosts except for Aro, who have pitied a BT.
I pitied Squalls. Kreese pitied Lightnings, or...
No, I pitied Ardens.
Ardens, that's right. You pitied Ardens. Arrow,
I learned my lesson.
Arrow's the only intelligent one of the group, which makes sense.
I don't
Furion's
know.
coming around the corner. We'll see what happens.
That's going to be the interesting one. I'm one way or another going to get that BT because I'm going to either have the tokens for it or.
Whoa! Look at those Zell EXs. How many?
No!
They're 10. At least 9
no.
Zell EXs.
No.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of Zell EXs. Zell was on this banner for those listening at home. Cloud is great. He's always been fun to play. He's got such great utility as a damage dealer. He's got Brave Shave. He's got Paralyze. He's got Delay now. He's got Launch. He's just this great catch-all character that he does throw on a lot of teams. Of course, you can build around him; he'll be a lot better. But he really works well in a lot of different setups, and he does a lot of cool things. So pretty much everything I like about what Cloud got is things. Even though I think J.A is going to disagree with me, one of our mods, is the reason I'm not happy with what Beatrix got, because I think Cloud and even Sephiroth Sephiroth's got a lot of problems, but at least his LD, when you pressed it did something. and Cloud's does a whole bunch of different things, gives him a free skill. It gives him, the ability to use an extra finishing touch. It delays all enemies by 2 turns. And he's got 4 uses of it, plus his BT. It's just, he's just a great character. He's not necessarily going to cheese content the same way that Lightning's going to cheese. I think he's a lot more fun to play than Lightning. He's certainly a little easier to play than Lightning if that's an issue for you in terms of maximizing him, because he's so slow. He's not stealing turns, but definitely a good investment. Kreese, any closing thoughts on Cloud before we talk about these dumb scorpions?
Well, a couple of things to keep in mind with this with Cloud in general is that, I think I mentioned it, he is pure damage with some utility mixed in. Keep that in mind. You do have to build around him. He does a lot of damage as long as you bring the supports to help support him. If you're dealing with enemies that resist either melee or ranged, you gotta bring an Imperil Enchanter to help him. If you're dealing with an enemy that has high defenses or has huge brave gains, you're gonna have to help him to make sure he's critting all the time. He usually doesn't have to worry about that because of the crit rate up, but you never know. You got to be careful. So keep those things in mind. You got to be wary of what is coming his way to make sure he's doing the damage he needs to. And you also got to give him the auras, ideally, to help him be capping. If Cloud is not capping on damage, he's not doing much other than just providing some paralyzes and some launches, and a couple of delays in the whole fight.
Yeah. Now, we also, a couple things before we get to the fight. We are in the midst of a raid event. So the raid event was the only co-op for a while, so you've probably finished it. But in previous raid events, you've been able to stop at 2 million points, which ends up being about maybe 10 or 20 raids. I forget if you do it a full Synergy Cosmos, it's 200,000 each, so 10. So you've been able to stop at 10 because really the next 2 million points is just weapon upgrade materials. But this raid is different. In all of the tiers up to 4 million points, so 20 Cosmos co-ops, fully perfect, fully Synergy, 200,000 points each. There's still gems and tickets to be had until you get to 4 million. So make sure you do those 20 co-ops. If you're having trouble, jump on our Discord, find a group that can handle it. Shouldn't be a problem. Even if you do just random co-ops, you should be able to do fine Cosmos, especially if you have Cloud. It's not going to be a problem. But there's other characters to bring as well.
Mark, did we mention the other level 80?
No, and that's the other
worth mentioning for this.
Yeah, that's the other thing I want to talk about before the fight is we did have, this is our second level 80 awakening wave, and so there were characters that got their level 80 awakening: Cloud, Rem, Setzer, Celeste, Yuri, and Waka. We of course don't have LD calls yet, but we do have the regular call abilities. The two that I would like to highlight is Waka's call gives you attack and max brave up 3, I think. So significant attack and max brave up for you, not for the party, I believe. Setzer's is freeze Joker. So if Setzer comes in, he does do free 80% up. Mino is talking. So, and defense. So Black Cloud, 80% attack up, max brave up, and defense up. So that's a good buff for your whatever, for your attacking character, your damage dealing character. That is a nice call ability to come in and get some nice buffs before a burst mode or just before some turns of cheese there. There are other ones, you might want some brave regen or something that, other characters give. But for this time, this call is nice. Once we get LD calls, you're going to be using LD calls more and more. The other one is Setzer. I think Setzer people have been forgetting about. Setzer's is Freeze Joker. So if you're not familiar with Freeze Joker, it freezes enemy brave gain for 2 turns, gives them a debuff. So if they're not immune to debuffs, and if they don't cleanse their debuffs, it's fine because it's not framed. But you can jump in with Setzer, do a AoE magic attack with a HP damage to both enemies, and if your Setzer's fully leveled and geared, he's doing okay damage. But it's going to give that 2 turns of Freeze Joker, which is really nice.
I'd also like to mention Rems as a nice burst heal followed by a party attack boost.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. It's pretty helpful, especially if you're bringing a HP regen healer. Just having that safety burst heal if you take some damage and need to get it back if you have more predictable HP damage coming in.
I'd like to highlight the Yuri call, especially for this raid Lufenia that we are about to talk about. Yuri's call is his skill 1, and if you have him purpled and everything, he will do a half brave shave on their a gravity shave, which it can be very helpful in some fights. Having that right on demand one time can be a lifesaver, and I just wanted to highlight that call because I think there will be a couple of times that might be useful before we get the LD.
And then Celeste has a call too, but no one was highlighting her because she's garbage. So I don't even know what her call does. So I'm sure it's not real good.
Actually, okay.
I can look.
It's a party block, I think, and it lets her absorb magic attacks for a few turns. Like lets your guy that called her absorb attacks for a few turns. Magic attacks. It's very nice, but probably way too niche for
it's Runic Blade, so it does all enemies 4 turns of lock, which is an additional lock, and then does Runic. So yeah, no, it's actually pretty good.
Niche, but it's not very nice.
It's not to be underrated. Magic absorb and lock. So yeah, that's a pretty good call ability actually. But yeah, so don't underestimate call abilities. Will they be the difference between a win and a loss? Maybe. I mean, if you're down to kind of the wire, I mean, this current Lufenia, the Xande Lufenia, if you're trying to power through it without dark damage, yeah, it could make the difference because I watched in preparation for the episode today, I watched several Xande Lufenia runs with people trying to do it without dark damage. And believe me, they got those Lufenia orbs down to 1 and 0 before the bosses switched out of the Lufenia mode. So, yeah, I mean, it can be the difference. So, yeah, it's a pretty good, as Valeris is saying, a pretty good batch of calls. So for regular non-LD calls. So, level up your characters. No reason to not level them up to 80. Invest in them as fully as you can with the resources you have and power them up as much as you can. So the boss raid and the Chaos Challenge Quest and Lufenia are all the same boss. It is the Guard Scorpions, of course, the classic Scorpion from Final Fantasy VII, the original and the remake. The kind of first boss you fight in the in both games, I guess. Nasty little bugger. And they have 2 major mechanics that you see throughout. I guess there's a few. There's some variations to it, but there's 2 major mechanics. There's the Lufenia Orb, that they start with, that then goes under once they get under 80, and then pops up from 59 to 30% 9 HP, and then goes from 29 to 0. And that is the only way you can deal with that is if you're able to freeze them or paralyze them. If they're unable to act when they take a turn, their Lufania Orb actions go up. So -1 when the player acts, -2 when the boss acts, but they both increase by 20 if one or the other cannot act, for example, due to paralyze. Cloud is paralyzed. So those are fairly easy to deal with. The other thing, in between the orb phases, there's this blue aura, which is a shield phase. And so they get this shield. It's really kind of a pain in the butt. When their HP drops below 80, and then when their HP drops below 50%. The only way to deal with that, and most of you probably like, what are you talking about? What shield? What aura? What did it do? Well, you probably didn't notice it because if you launch, you break the aura, and their next attack becomes much less powerful. If you don't break the aura with the launch, their attack becomes much more powerful. They also have a recast ability, which can be nasty, as most characters are. But yeah, most people were able to kind of stomp this with Cloud and Lightning and Cloud and Lightning and various other things. So, Arrow, what was your strategy going into this fight?
Survive. I actually went with a debuff heavy team. I hadn't done a debuff heavy team in a while, but I do have Reno and Cam. So I was like, hey, they do a bit of physical and magic attack. So let me dump them in together and share Rude because he's battery and he'll just make everybody live forever. So it worked out really well. It was fun seeing the enemies hit for ones in a Lufenia. So that was very exciting. And I'm talking like on all three of my allies, like they were hitting for nothing with their brave attacks. The orb isn't a problem really because you can set up for that with classification plus easily enough. Now, there is one thing I do want to point out is that when they get to the recast and they do that charge attack with the 99k brave, I think my observations is you do not actually have to get all 99k down if you don't disable them or whatever. You do need to get them under about 20k max brave so they don't do the burnt laser plus, the one that dispels. And Yuri's Call is very good for that, by the way, because they get a lot. They remove all their buffs or debuffs, on them, and it can be very annoying trying to reset everything or whatever. But Yuri's Call just says, "Yeah, that's cool. I'll knock you down to almost like nothing anyway from wherever you're at." So having that is a lifesaver. And what were you going to say, Mark?
No, I was just going to say they also get a nasty HP regen at the last 30% of their health. So, that's really the phase you want to burst, you want to summon, you want to deny them as many turns as possible. Because it's 110,000 HP a turn they heal, which is a lot.
It's awful. It's awful. So I would hugely recommend as your friend unit, either HaateXIII or Cloud Friend, and just spam his Blade Beam LB if you want to. Go into summon and do that. Or you can use HaateXIII and just burn all their turns out anyway. So one way or another, just make sure, before you do that, make sure that their orb counter's nice and fat before you summon in your friend and you summon in all that good stuff. So my strategy was to make sure to have one of them paralyzed, take that turn, and then just go right into it after that. If you can't launch them, make sure when they do the attacks that you won't have somebody. I think there's like two different attacks they do in the union mode. One of them's the foot stamp plus, which isn't too big a deal, but just make sure you don't get broken because it kind of hurts otherwise, and it might kill you. It also dispels, so just keep that in mind. And the other thing is that other attack. I can't think of its name, but it gives like the other union monster after it does it. Like he does an attack and then he gives a brave battery to the other one. You got to watch out for that because if the other one goes right after that one that gave the battery, well, somebody's probably dead because they're going to get to like 33k brave or something. And most of your characters aren't going to live that unless you brought like a last stand character of some sort. So that union thing's kind of scary. But thankfully, if you don't have Cloud, you do get one free finishing touch call if you wanted to bring that. So that's another very excellent call to bring here. And that's pretty much the main gist of it.
Yeah, a couple things not related to this. So Black Cloud is telling us, be careful about buying Xande's armor from the armor token exchange. It's incorrectly priced at 20 armor tokens. So hold off on buying his armor until that gets fixed. That is a problem. So be careful about that. And Mino's asking about Xande's boards, just as he's doing boards right now on stream. Tonberry Troupe says yes, invest in the boards. A free 3, Brothers 3, Diabolos 3. So Tonberry Troupe is saying...
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I'm just telling you what their website says. Their website says TonberryTroupe.com. Our friends at the Tonberry Troupe says a free 347, Brothers 345, Diablos 346. So,
I guess it doesn't work into the formula because we were doing all this fucking number crunching because you guys know how
they were doing some nerd stuff in our Discord.
Diablos makes sense. Brothers makes sense. Ifrit's the only iffy one.
But isn't there fire on like his skill 1 or something?
Yeah, skill 1 is fire.
Skill 1 is his most spammable skill.
I think what Mino's asking about is, does it matter because of all of his stacking and chance and everything? Because there's a point where you actually hit your brave cap. So will it matter? Because he'll be hitting brave cap anyway. So
will Xande be hitting?
The weakness cap, yes.
We will be talking, I think, about this not in as great length as we were talking about it on our Discord because it involves a lot of nerdy math.
Wait, do these brave damage bonuses count towards the weakness cap?
That's what I'm asking.
We're not. That's the question.
Because it says
I'm not sure.
Increases brave damage by 10% when using the elements, so maybe not.
I don't think they count towards weakness damage.
Right.
That's a different part of the formula.
Okay.
I think they just increase brave damage down because they don't care if it's hitting a weakness or not.
Somebody talk to Safina and let's start figuring this out. We will probably figure this out, but it may not be live on air. We did have a TCC challenge for this raid, the Mechanized Sentry. We banned Cloud and Emotes. You can let me double check. Of course, you can go into full details on the DissidiaFFOO.com, Macnol's website. He does have a boss guide for all these events. You can bring double Emotes and just kind of shut the bosses out. So that is one option. So we did ban Emotes and Cloud. No burst phase, of course. The Extreme Challenge, summons only use Chocobo or Sylph, no friend. And do not use any skill or call assist that forces a launch. So can't use Cloud's skill 2, can't use Cloud's call, that kind of stuff. So, fairly interesting. And we did get a few people, as you can see there. Congratulations to Leviax, Belial, Excalibur, Ganro, Type Next, Arrow. Where Arrow, what team did you use for the TCC challenge?
I mentioned it before, but
that was your team, yeah.
Reno, Cam, and Rude team.
Yep. I used Reno, Cloud, and Rude. A little easier than Reno, Cam. Weird, Scott, Final Asim, A4630, Azarmar, 81, Slowboy did the regular, and Theologica, Chef Knife, and Clay did the extreme. Congratulations to all of you beautiful people and the TCC Challenge. Always check out for the TCC Challenge. Just a fun thing to do if you're bored and looking for some extra challenge. So, it looks like several people already traded for the armor without looking at it. Hopefully we will get some compensation. So if you did spend the armor, you'll hopefully get it back. If you didn't, maybe we'll get some extra. So, Squex, Joshua, if you're listening, that's a serious problem with our armor token shortage. More armor tokens. The people demand it. More armor tokens for the people. All right. What's next? Where are we? Yeah, we've had several events. Another event, Beatrix's Lost Chapter, Roses of May, which brought Beatrix's level 80 rework and LD weapon. So what did B get, Crease?
Just a sec, sorry, I was eating a cookie. Okay.
Cookie.
So what Beatrix got was small tweaks to her Skill 1 and Skill 2, St. Cloth and Thunderslash. I believe St. Cloth got an additional ability use, and another Brave hit, and some potency increases for Saint Cloth, just to bring it up to par. Thunder Slash got some tweaks to potency damage, and also got some HP. Yeah, I was hungry. Got some increases to do HP splash damage now, so it's now a real AoE skill. Doesn't just do AoE Brave damage, does AoE HP damage. However, the big thing that Beatrix got with her kit is her new LD ability, which is Shock. Shock does a couple of things. Number one, it is a full dispel for all enemy targets, which is a huge bonus for her kit. Now she is now a dispeller. Second thing it does, it's an AoE Brave plus HP attack. The Brave hits ignore defense. Not a big deal with our Brave damage reduction world, but it's still a nice little bonus. It also is a party battery effect, which occurs after the HP dump, so it does protect her from taking damage after the attack as well. Third thing it does, that was the third thing. Fourth thing it does is it applies a unique debuff to all targets called Rose Petals. Rose Petals does a couple things. It reduces enemy damage, reduces our enemy attack, provides a sap to the target, and also causes that whenever Beatrix attacks the target, it triggers a follow-up called, what is it called?
Yeah,
Does the follow-up have a specific name?
Roses of May, right?
Is it called Roses of May?
Like that? It is called...
Might not have is it just called Rose Petals?
Rose Petals, yes. Rose Petals.
Okay, I couldn't remember if the follow-up had a specific name.
Yes,
or if it was
Rose Petals.
It is called Rose Petals? Okay.
Yes.
I played around with it a little bit, but I couldn't remember. Anyways, what Rose Petals does is whenever the follow-up is triggered, it removes a buff from the target. It does a single target attack that ignores defense, and then batteries the party based on HP damage dealt. So it's a nice little boost to Beatrix's damage. And that's the real bonus to Beatrix's kit. It fills out her kit so she has some additional utility with being a dispeller. She already had the healing with the trickle HP regen. Remember that she also has an additional ability that provides some burst healing in a pinch. She has the HP damage mitigation with her HP+++, Holy Knight Safeguard after she uses her EX that she can hold on to as long as she needs to. She just has to anticipate the incoming HP damage in order to use it properly. She has ability recharges for Thunder Slash from her EX. She has a decently quickly recharging EX, so she doesn't have to worry about ability uses too much. And all around, she's a solid character. She doesn't do huge damage. She provides some decent battery now with her follow-ups from Rose Petals. So yeah, she's a solid all-rounder. She's not gonna be blowing anyone out of the water. She's not doing any super amazing damage. Remember that Thunder Slash is tied to the lightning element. Other than that, she's just a magic attacker. So she's not tied to an element, but she has just enough element in her kit that it can cause issues if anything is immune or absorbs the element or even resists it. But yeah, other than that, she's just a all-around decent character now. If you're a fan of her, I think she's a solid utility offensive character. Remember, she still has her auras. She's still tied to having her C50 passives to provide full aura benefits. So keep that in mind. You gotta farm those artifacts. But yeah, it's easier to do that than it was when she first arrived. I like her. I pulled her LD. I think it's cost me 400 tickets to get it, but I got it. Arrow, anything you have to add?
I wanna say yes, she's great right now when she's got all these synergy stats. But I've seen videos with Beatrix damage later on when she isn't. It's kind of bad, and she's got some pretty decent teams behind her, giving her extra attack and things. So this is one of those things where it's like I pulled with tickets because I'm an FF9 fan, big one. So I was like, well, I got to keep my FF9 collection nice and perfect. So yeah, but I want to like this kit. There's all the right things here. She's got Dispel. That's cool. She's got a nice attack down debuff, and she has these cool follow-ups. She even has my favorite mechanic, Brave Refund. But then you realize her attack is awful when she doesn't have synergy stats. And I think the potencies are a little And then it's just, you start thinking about it and you're like, oh gosh, this might be a very difficult character to build around. But the utilities are good. And they're very neat to play with. But you have to ask yourself, do you absolutely need them or want them? Outside of her being synergy, I don't know right now. So I'll see what I can do, because I really do like what she's got. And I think there's some interesting, like if you're willing to play a certain type of play style, she could probably pump out pretty good numbers. She pairs very well with Kieran, for example, to give her a lot more battery and things to help her damage, along with those auras he gives. But it's just a really hard sell, because outside of these next two events, I don't know how much we're going to see of Beatrix. I don't know if her utilities are even necessary. And that's kind of where I get a little upset. But, this player base, they're going to make Beatrix work. There's going to be somebody who's just going to make Beatrix work for way longer than anticipated, and probably what the devs even anticipate. So I'm hoping as well that I think we have like Brave reduction coming in, like Brave gain reduction coming in at some point, and that's also going to hurt Beatrix a lot when that comes in, and that's very unfortunate. But until then, I hope to be able to utilize her here and there. That's pretty much my final thoughts. Kit's good, but they just didn't give her enough, I feel like, and to make her a standout unit.
Beatrix is one of, not only do I like Beatrix, she is one of my favorite characters. I was so glad that she was our global first anniversary global first. Used her very well. I used her in the EX Realization, although she was a little bit underwhelming in that era. I feel that just like Sephiroth, she really got the shaft. I think her LD is one of the weakest LDs we have to date. Her infamous element, one of a great player and a good part of our community here, is saying, yeah, if you want to make her work, you definitely need perfect arts. You need her attack 108s and you need the auras. So C50 attack 108s, 3 perfect arts, which is not hard to get, especially if you have the premium Moogle Pass. They're a lot easier to come by than they were. But even with that in synergy, I mean, yeah, the LD ignores defense, but it just is so underwhelming. And even on her event, which we're going to talk about, which has enemies which fully frame buff themselves, you didn't even want to use that in that fight. It was much better to go 1-by-1 than to fully wipe the enemy. And there are so few times when it seems like you're just going to want that reset. Now, it's a nice, to be able to dispel, but freaking Vanille's skill 2 dispels like that. Cloud with all of his critical hits dispels on a regular basis. I mean, Vanille's sphere dispels on somebody who breaks, but it's definitely nice to be able to dispel everything. But the problem is there's not a lot of those fights. There's not a lot of fights where you're going to want to dispel the entire. There's going to be 6 or even 8 in the future frame buffs where you're going to want to scream. Beatrix definitely works in her own. I used her. We'll get to that in a second. But the problem is going forward, it's not going to be a button you're going to want to press. That's going to be my problem. So before everybody gets their whatever in a knot here, their underpants all tied up, I love Beatrix. I like her kit. I think she's a great character. I'm not attacking you as a person. I don't think you're bad. I love you. I think you're great. You're very good people. But her LD sucks ass. You have to acknowledge that, besides perhaps 1 or 2 events in the future, to be able to press an LD and the only thing you get is a dispel and really crappy ass damage. It's not okay. There's no free ability skill. She doesn't get an extra buff. Yeah, she gets the follow-up attack, but it seems really underwhelming even in synergy. So, it's confirmed, Sarathi. I do hate you. No, I mean, I really want her to be better. I hope her LD boards fix her. I have her fully purpled. Her LD board, she gets I'm always going to pull on my favorites, and you can make her work. But if she's not a favorite and you don't already, if you already have her purple, throw some tickets on, try to get her LD. But if you don't have her, don't go chasing characters that you probably don't need. And she's definitely a character that you probably don't need. She really doesn't fill a lot of roles, and we're going to have other characters who can fill that one role and do other things better. Again, but if you really like the defensive characters who, don't always fit really well, it's just I'm disappointed. Just like I'm disappointed in Sephiroth. There were just a couple things. A splash. I mean, there were. We'll get it in his LD board. You'll see Sephiroth will be good with just a few tweaks. I'm sure Beatrix will be good with just a few tweaks as well. Right now, I am very disappointed in her kit. I love her as a character. I love all of you who love her. She's not underpowered. She's not bad for her event. I bet we're not going to see a lot of her on this event. I'm going to look at the call to arms because I bet you're not going to have her in your first slot for this coming event, which she is synergy on, or a lot of events in the future. But please, that's not to say you can't use her. That's not to say you can't build around her. She doesn't have some utility, but I feel personally disappointed when I hit that LD button, especially outside of synergy, especially outside of a boss that fully frame buffs themselves instantaneously, which is what this boss does. So, Kreese, any final thoughts?
You're right. I think the gimmick of ignore defense is pretty silly, considering that brave damage reduction is the way they decide to deal with ignore defense characters for the last several months. And we've known that for the last several months that brave damage reduction amplification is pretty intense now. Like, it's been known that defense isn't really the scaling factor anymore for why characters don't hit hard.
I mean, if you
having an ignore defense ability isn't going to hit hard in most chaoses or most Fenias.
If you can build a team with super defense up and also super defense attack down on the enemies, it can happen. She does battery. She's not bad, right? But I feel that she's underwhelming to what she could be, even in this era. And when it's just telling. I think Mino said it in his evaluation as well. When the EX button is a more satisfying button than the LD button, there's a problem. As we've seen, the EX usually, with Cloud, it's his least satisfying button to press. Moving forward with Sephiroth, it's going to be his least satisfying button to press. Cloud, Squall, it will be his least satisfying button to press. A lot of these characters, it's going to be their least satisfying button to press is the EX. For me, Beatrix, you might argue Saint's Cloth, but I think Saint's Cloth does some things that are a little bit more fun than the LD, except when you really need it. So, those Black Cloud says no. So Squall and Sephiroth still have good EXs. Cloud still does AoE Dispel on his.
Sephiroth is basically reduces all targets brave to 0, so it's EX is still solid.
No.
I actually have some final thoughts too, because my biggest beef with this Beatrix LD is that she's a character that used to not mind the enemy getting actions. She's supposed to reduce the brave damage taken and all these other stuff. But it's so weird to me. They gave her a follow-up attack similar, like, a debuff like Machina's, but she's not fast. So it's like she can't take the greatest advantage, and she doesn't even do the greatest damage with it. It's just baffling to me. Like, you don't want the enemy to really take too many turns when you have that debuff up. But then it's like, but she's got a kit that encourages you having interactions with the enemy. Right. So why wasn't her debuff a counter similar to something like, I don't know, like the soon to come Furion? Like, it's just so weird to me, and I can't get my mind quite around that choice.
I love Beatrix. I still have her. We all have her. We all have her gear. But yeah, I'm disappointed. I hope she's better at the next tuning pass. And that's the cool part about the game is there's always another tuning pass for these characters, especially not for every character, but for a lot of characters. So, let's go to the podcast polls because this was, of course, our GL first, and so a lot of people.
Her call assist isn't very great either.
Oh, yeah. What's her call assist? Is it Saint's Cloth or is it Lightning?
It's Saint's Cloth. Yeah. It batteries the party. It's a single target brave plus HP attack. It does give the party HP regen and defense up, but they're generic buffs, so they can get pushed off pretty easily.
Yeah, well, looking across, thanks to Quetzalma and Materiabot for the podcast polls, across 10 DFFOO servers, 10 people were willing to pity Cloud's burst on this banner. 18 pity Beatrix's LD, 13 gems, 168 tickets, and 72 skips. So still a lot of love for Beatrix, as we knew there is, because she was the darling first anniversary GL exclusive or GL first. And she's a great character, and she's definitely one of my favorite characters from Final Fantasy IX. So, and a great game. Yeah, if you like her, you'll use her. If not, I don't think she's a character you're probably going to be pulling up. Well, she also had a boss, which was bullshit.
Yeah, and she works against that bullshit boss.
She does. But you can screw yourself by using her LD in this fight, believe me. Two Merilith Glorias. They are the Merilith types. Merilith Gloria in Excelsis Deo. I think that's how it goes. They do a lot of attacks, and then they kill you with their death. So there's a lot going on in this fight. Of course, you can go to DissidiaFFOO, read all about the details. If the Lufania orb goes off, you're dead. The orb count starts at 15 when its HP is at 69%, never disappears. So once the boss goes under 70 HP, you're stuck with the orb. 15 orb count, as you know, is not very low. It can go by real quick, but it increases by 10 when you dispel a buff. And they buff themselves quite frequently. They buff themselves with 6 framed buffs. They do it somewhat systematically and also somewhat randomly, and sometimes they buff themselves with 1 buff. Now, you can get yourself into a spot with Beatrix's LD where if you fully cleanse all of their buffs and they don't randomly rebuff themselves for a while, well, you can end up dead if you're not careful. Now, generally, you're not going to have that problem with her, but it can happen. So be careful. The other problem is their regular recast ability. The Blinky recast ability, their big attack, that can kill you just straight up. So their orb ability can kill you, but their normal recast ability can kill you. Now, you can mitigate that with an ability like Beatrix's, HP plus her special attack after her EX, right? I forget what that's called. It is called Holy Knight's Safeguard. Yes, that is the actual name of it. So you can put Holy Knight's Safeguard on that and survive the attack. You can use Freeze Joker. You can bring in Setzer. They can't Brave Gain, but that will most likely kill you unless you have a full party of Last Stand and anything else. That regular attack. So they have a couple other things. They get crazy regeneration at some point. There's a whole list of different things. There's some random crap that can happen. I played through it. Now, I had Synergy, but, I played through it with Cloud and Beatrix and somebody else. I forget who else I brought to kind of play through it, timing my paralyzes, timing my Holy Knight safeguards, timing my dispels correctly. And I played through it, and it's bullshit. Even with Synergy, it's kind of bullshit. Macnol suggests just cheesing it, like many of you probably did. If you never let them act, it will be fine. So Lightning with her LD, Cloud with his burst. If you look at the call to arms on DissidiaFFOO.com, Cloud burst, Lightning LD, or Cloud LD, Lightning burst, you can pretty much deny them any turns. There's actually several other things that can do that as well. You can delay them forever and just ignore most of the fight. But if you don't ignore that, you have to deal with the orb, and you have to deal with making sure they cannot hit you with the recast. And so there's a couple other little things you have to deal with as well. But it can be a pain, even with the Synergy character. So, Arrow, how did you approach this fight?
I went with a more defensive strategy because I pulled for Beatrix, and I'm like, hey, I know this fight's going to be some crap. So I decided to build around her using my good boy, 9, and my other man, Kieran. So, So I decided to just support her for max damage on that rose petals when it would actually activate. And man, I gotta tell you, Kieran and Beatrix are pretty legit. That's a pretty good combo.
Yeah.
And then you could use Wall, I guess, in 9th place, and so you can actually get shields that last for more than like an attack. It's kind of nice. So I really enjoyed that. And then the thing I found tricky though in this fight is juggling the amount of turns the bosses are getting and how much advantage you want over them. It's supposed to be a really cool concept in theory when you're dealing with this fight with Beatrix and everything. But gosh, it's so annoying because they have so many attacks that just, they either do HP damage, they pretty much kill you if you break to it. They have high turn rate on some of their stuff. They just do a lot of damage anyway. It's even with like a bunch of buffs up that are supposed to supposedly protect you, but it just doesn't feel like it. It's just wild. And like, I don't blame anyone who went with the Cloud Amaditelian strategy thing. And it's just, I don't blame you because letting them get too many turns and then you see that recast and nothing pretty much lives it unless you bring damage mitigation, either, Setzer's Call, 9's White Knight buff. And that's only going to protect you from one of those 2 attacks, by the way. So you got to make sure you don't do it back to back. Then you got Reno's Pyramid debuff, which is actually really good because it does a debuff when I think a debuff dispels 1 buff off the enemy. So you get like double good off of that. You can protect yourself and you're adding to the counter. And then you got of course, Beatrix's Paladin protection buff will obviously protect you. And then but the thing is, it's just, I don't know, man. I can see why people hate this fight. The only reason I forgive this in Kieran's Lost chapter is because they're permanent content. You're eventually going to have more characters that come out with level 80. They'll have calls that hopefully, can dispel. I think Ferris gets it down the line. So, I mean, there'll be that, for example. So, Vanille probably, when she gets her level 80, she'll probably have some sort of dispel. I mean, that's why I forgive it, because by the time you're getting around to this, you might even be able to just raffle stomp, brute force it. If you can't beat it now, just wait. It's not a big deal. You can always collect your high armor tokens later. All you miss out on when you don't do it during the event period, I think, is like some tickets.
Yeah.
You really aren't missing much. So don't feel too bad if you don't want to pull for Beatrix. You didn't pull for Cloud. You just don't have the right stuff to beat it for whatever reason, or you just can't deal with it. Just skip it for now. No big deal. It's permanent. This is one of those fights where it's like, no big deal. So that I don't know, man. I think they wanted to make a push and pull battle but again, people don't tend to like that kind of battle, especially when you give the enemies high turn rate if they break you. I can't believe they did that. Like, it would have been cool if the enemies didn't have that. Like, I think it would have been fine. They kind of take turns, they buff themselves, and then you're supposed to slowly dispel them. But the fact they have high turn rate, I think that's where they kind of went overboard with this one. So I don't know. I don't got anything else to really add. So anyone else got anything?
Well, we do have a TCC challenge for this. And the TCC challenge for this was banning Beatrix and Cloud, no BT phase. The Extreme challenge also banned Lightning, of course, Chocobo and Sylph as your summons. Using a friend unit and their BT was allowed. So you could use a friend for that. And winners, Final Asim, Slowboy, Gonro, Excalibur, Scott, Snoopball, A45630, and for the Extreme, Clay, Excalibur, Embish, and Theologica. So, hey, congratulations to all of you who were able to do that. And yeah, we talked about those Hell Month Lufanias, those 3 Lufanias that were really, really tough. That's not to say these Lufanias are easy, right? And even with Synergy, some of these Lufanias are challenging. There's different things to think about. And even, like this, I'll be interested to see it. This coming, the one Mino is doing on stream right now, the Xande Lufania. He's doing the chaos right now, but the event. You can roll through it ignoring the orbs. but it's difficult. So it'll be interesting to see, how many people struggle trying to push lightning through this event, or do that. So yeah, I mean, this is hard content regardless. If you pull and get the, current BT or the synergy characters, it'll be a little easier, hopefully. But that's not to say it's easy event. Yeah, I love Reno. I'm glad I picked Reno up. He's been very useful. That does bring us to Xande. He's a new character. He's from Final Fantasy III, kind of. I mean, he is from Final Fantasy III, but he's not, the final boss. He's certainly not the Dissidia rep, so he's kind of thrown in as the secondary boss. But he is a villain from Final Fantasy.
Xande was like the projected antagonist of Final Fantasy III.
Yeah, he is the not the end boss, but the boss. So who is
Xande's the Kuja of Final Fantasy III.
Yeah,
or the Golbez of Final Fantasy III.
Yeah. I don't know how in depth you want to go with Xande, Kreese. So I'll give it to you. Xande is one of these characters. Just to let's have a little stop here before we get into Xande. It's Xande, not Xand, right? It's Xande. It is Libra, not Libra, like the astrological sign. And it is.
I'm still going to say Libra.
And it is Circus Tower, not a. You probably already saw the icon on screen. I mean, it looks like Xande is teaching a group of high schoolers how to practice safe sex. It is the weirdest.
It's a crystal tower.
It is the weirdest looking icon. Yeah, it's the crystal tower, all right. But I mean, if any of you grew up in the 80s and, Little Mermaid on VHS, the front of that cover, the box art on the VHS of Little Mermaid, yeah, they were towers too. But I think the artists knew what they were doing, right? Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for penises, you're going to find penises. But it looks pretty bad. Circus Tower, but that's what it is. It is the Tower of Circuses. What did Mino? Cyrus, Syphilis Tower, Sicus Tower. I don't know. I'm just here trying to help you with pronunciations. Xande's a new character. Kreese, what does he do?
Xande does a lot of damage, is what he does. There,
Great.
We're done.
Good. That's all.
Sorry, I'll actually talk about what he does.
Yeah, he's that is on the Tonberry Troupe, tonberrytroupe.com. They're beautiful infographic. He is a magic attacker. End of story. Three A spheres. That's all you need to know.
There is a little bit more to him than just him being a magic attacker. He is also an elemental attacker. And unlike most elemental attackers, he's actually tied to 3 different elements. Primarily, he's tied to Earth Dark. However, his skill 1 is also tied to Fire Dark. So his skill 1, Libra combo, which I'm going to say incorrectly, don't try to make me say it correctly, I'm not going to, is a single target, it's an AoE Brave plus single target HP attack, that does some splash damage. It does 2 important things, though, which is the reason it's an important part of his kit. First thing it does is that it increases the stacks of his unique thing above his head called Circus Tower, which can stack up to 5 times. It can only stack up to 5 times if you have his LD passive equipped. Second thing it does is it applies a debuff to all targets called Apprehension of Weakness. Apprehension of Weakness applies Fire, Earth, and Dark resist down, and also reduces enemy defenses by a little bit. But the important part is the elemental resist down. Without that, Xande might not be hitting weakness damage, and he needs to hit weakness damage to really hit damage at all. His skill 2 is Quake. Never press Quake. I think that's how Mino put it in his analysis. Never press... Oh, I just saw Mark getting burst on stream. Okay, congratulations, Mark.
Hey,
anyways,
I mean, it's just 3 of the last 4 free multis are Cloud's burst. What's it?
Yeah. Don't worry, I didn't get any cloud bursts, and my free multi was garbage. So Quake is a garbage ability. Never press Quake. It's an AoE Brave plus single target HP attack. If, however, Xande is at 3 or more stacks of Circus Tower, Quake is no longer Quake. It becomes Quega. Quega is a much better ability. It is a 4 AoE Brave plus single target HP attack with much better splash damage that's executed twice. That is a much better attack. And you should use only Quega. You should never press Quake, you should only press Quega. It also refreshes his unique frame buff called Dark Sovereignty, which enchants him with Earth Dark, so he does more Earth Dark damage. It increases his attack and max Brave a little bit, but the enchants help too. His EX ability isn't very quickly charging. It charges fast enough that I think Mino said it's every 2 ability uses he can reuse Meteor, and that seems to be correct from watching his gameplay so far. Meteor is a big button that does multiple AoE plus Brave, single target Brave hits, and then does splash damage based on Brave damage dealt. It also applies a stacking buff to him called Pall of Darkness. Important thing is that it gives him attack and EX recast rate. According to Mino's eval, the recast rate doesn't really matter beyond the first stack. So yeah, just it matters to get 1 stack for the recast rate. The additional boost to attack help a little bit as he gets more stacks, but yeah, once you get the 1 stack of recast rate, he starts recasting faster. His LD is just a big, nice, fancy button to push. It increases Circus Towers the same way Skill 1 does, so you can choose between using his Skill 1 Libra combo or his LD Destruction Quega as ways to build up Circus Tower stacks, and you want to get to max Circus Tower stacks as fast as possible. I'll talk about what Circus Tower does in a minute. What the LD does, Destruction Quega, along with giving him Circus Tower stacks, is it's 1 a unbreak on all enemies. It's an AoE Brave plus single target HP attack that does splash damage. It executes twice, kind of like Quega does. And it also gives Xande a free ability use on his next turn, so he gets some more ability uses out of the deal. So that's his kit. He basically just does a lot of elemental damage. He imperils, he self-enchants. Now what Circus Tower does is that based on the number of stacks, he gets more and more effects. At 1 stack, he increases his critical Brave damage dealt. At 2 stacks, he increases his Stolen Overflow Brave. At 2 stacks, he increases the amount of splash damage he does on all abilities. At 4 stacks, he enchants the party with Dark Enchant. At 5 stacks, he further increases the amount of splash damage he does. So at 5 stacks, he increases all of his splash damage by 50%, which basically makes it so almost everything he does is minimum 70% splash damage, and at maximum 100% splash damage, which means he is an AoE damage monster, just FYI. Yeah, I think that's the important points. He also has an AA ability, which is just increases the amount of Brave damage he does when hitting weakness for several turns. It's good. It just makes it so he does a little bit more damage. I think Mino said that the important point is to just help him make sure he's hitting multiple targets at once, and help him get to the point where Xande is starting with a lot of Brave on every turn. Give him a Brave battery so that he is just doing a lot of HP damage, because Brave Shave isn't really what he's about. The important thing is just dumping a lot of HP damage into enemies.
Thanks, Mother. Thanks, Mother Lover, for the Twitch Prime sub. Appreciate it.
Yeah. I think those are the important points. Arrow, Mark, did I miss important points? Or Mino, you can chime in too. Did I miss important points from this kit?
Mino is doing the
LD rebreaks.
Unbreaks. If it unbreaks and then does AoE damage attacks, yeah it does rebreak. Yeah. Unbreak, rebreak. So it does do a partial delay, yeah.
And that's it. Well, there was something else about the LD, but oh right, free skill use. You said that though, right?
I said the free ability use afterwards. Yeah.
Yep.
The only dark element enchanter right now. Oh boy.
The only party dark element enchanter. Period. Not that there's a lot of. And there's not a lot of party.
There's not a lot of dark element characters.
There's not a lot of dark element characters. There's not a lot of party enchanters. period. And there's not a lot of viable party enchanters. But
Xande also has the advantage of being a mixed element attacker.
Yeah.
Which helps him get around some things. Plus, he enchants himself with a couple elements to help amplify his damage, because he gives himself 3 elemental enchants once he's fully built up. Dark Sovereignty enchants Earth and Dark, and he party enchants Dark another time. So he's stacking those enchants pretty high on himself.
So he does cover several roles, right? He covers the dark damage roll. He covers the earth damage roll to a lesser extent. He covers the fire damage roll. He covers the AoE damage roll. Maybe not the brave damage roll, but he also
he's a party enchanter Impaler.
He
remember
does
that.
And he has a framed debuff in peril, so he does play well with others. So he does cover a lot of roles. The question is, are they roles you need covered in your kit? If a lot of people said, I'm going to pull on Vivi for this fight, this dark fight, might be tough. That red aura does HP damage, I believe. We're seeing it right now on screen. I believe that the red aura does HP poison. So, Vivi can be a tough call. And we don't know that Vivi's damage is going to be enough yet to deal with the orbs. Probably. But people got Rem through it.
That hurt. What the fuck?
Oh, Jesus.
What was that?
Mino just took
that
some
was
hit there.
flamethrower while in heat form, right?
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, looking ahead, earth damage, you have Gao. If you don't have Gao, there's Guy. Now, if you don't have Gao or Guy, Xande's a great pickup. Dark damage, you have Dark Knight Cecil, you have Vivi.
Guy isn't around yet.
Oh, no, but looking forward, Guy will fill that earth damage role.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Xande covers 3 or 4 different roles. And so if you don't have all those different characters, like I do, I'm pulling for Xande anyway, with tickets, why not? If you don't have all those different characters, he's not a bad investment. And he does pretty good things. I think on paper, he's more complicated to play than in practice. Now, I don't know that because I've not played him. Mino's got him, using him on screen. I think when you look, he's got 2 stacking mechanics. He's got an overhead buff. He's got frame buffs that stack. And so I think it's a little bit overcomplicated. Mino they've done tons of research and tons of math on this to try to figure out all these different stacking potencies and chants. And you can read Mino's evaluation on Reddit right now if you want to look at all the numbers, or join our Discord if you're really interested, and all the nerds can talk to you about it. But the math nerds, Black Cloud says math is for nerds. Math is for nerds. It's over my head, that's for sure. But yeah, I think he's probably easier to play than he looks like. He's easier to play.
I
Mino's
think
dead.
someone might be dead.
Maybe not. Maybe he's really hard to play because Mino just wiped. No, I think Vivi was probably the reason behind that.
Mino, I mean, that was bad timing. I don't think Mino expected the shift to right under 50%, to right under 60% to trigger the flame and the orb right there.
No, I think what happened on stream is going to be a real good indication of what this Lufania is, because a lot of people, I'm going to get Vivi and then I don't have to pull for Xande for this Lufania. I think people might find Vivi a little harder to use.
I think what happened is Vivi killed me.
Vivi did kill the party in that power. And so, if you want to, you got to bring some powerful healers with Vivi.
Man.
I would try Rude.
You're going to bring...
I would try Rude.
I mean, that's going to be a lot of healing, but you're not going to be battering a lot with
that's the only
Rude
problem,
if he's going to be countering Vivi's HP drain.
That's the only problem with Rude is if he's constantly healing, he's not battering, and that kind of sucks. But
I have a quick question though about...
Wait, you didn't give Rude a call assist.
Guys, I have a quick question about this. Okay, so when Xande enchants the party, this is a frame buff on him, or like an aura buff or something?
No, it's his special unique dildo buff.
Circus Tower.
Yeah.
Circus Tower. It's part of Circus Tower. It can never be removed.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of unique.
It's like Kuja, right? So Kuja has that, unlike Rydia, unlike Garnet, who have regular frame buffs that enchant the party, Lulu. he has, I'm glad someone Biscuits caught that. He has an overhead buff. You can see it on the screen. Jin's like, oh wow, I somebody said Smurf Dick. I thought that was pretty good too.
Glad to see we're all mature here.
Chris is not happy with.
I gotta point out one other thing with Xande here. Okay, that whole pose, it's a T pose. I know that, but it also looks like he needs to take a dump. Like he is getting ready to just go because I can't get over it. And the gritted teeth and everything, it's just like, dude, I'm sorry you're constipated. But I don't know, man. I want to like this character, but it's really hard. It's really hard for me.
With that overhead buff, I'm not sure it's constipation. Okay, so let's stop that. It's all me, so I'll stop. But yeah, no. So it is an overhead buff, so it can't be dispelled. So the partying chant is something that's not going to be a problem. There was some talk. Oh, if he doesn't have 5 stacks of his other buff, his other frame buff, then he doesn't get the EX recast up rate. It really doesn't matter as long as he has that buff. The EX cast rate is up. The difference between 5 stacks and 1 stacks and the EX recast rate up is minuscule and almost won't matter ever. They did some practice, Mino and Safina and 40, I think, and who else? There was somebody else. But there was someone else who helped do some live testing. He shouts them out in his Reddit post. But the EX recast rate up does not really matter depending on stacks. As long as you have it, it's fine. So the people worrying about Xande getting dispelled and not being useful, it's nothing to worry about. He can re-up. As long as you have the 5 stacks of the Circus Tower, the overhead buff, you're fine. And he's not going to have any problems. So that's not something to worry about. So, so this is definitely a character. You look at your roster. You look at your resources. You look at your roster. Do I have... Do I have earth damage? Do I have dark damage? Do I have fire damage? Do I have good AoE damage? Do I have good magic attack? And if I have all those areas covered, then I can pass. If I'm missing 1 or 2 or all of them, he can cover several different abilities for several different fights moving forward. So it's one of those characters. He's certainly not like, oh man, he's so good, you definitely got to get him. But he is a character that Mina said, I thought you were going to shit over him. No, I think I said I feel he's stronger than Beatrix. I feel he's been stronger than several of our other characters in terms of even attack damage. So yeah, I think he's interesting. Unfortunately, he's kind of a secondary villain antagonist from a game that most of us don't.
Worried was going to happen.
Most of us don't care a bit. But if he was a more popular character, we'd probably be all over it. If he did what Vivi does, if Vivi did what he did, if Vivi's rework and LD just was his stuff, you'd be like, oh wow, he's great, But he's just one of these characters nobody cares about. I don't think there's probably anybody in chat. We got about 100 people live with us right now. I don't think there's anybody who Xande is one of your favorites, right? So there's probably not a lot of people who Final Fantasy III is one of your favorites. Let's be honest. Zerathi. He was. They did feature the Circus Tower in Final Fantasy.
Saying that FF3 is their favorite.
Okay, Mithrin. I don't believe you. But.
And Mino, of course, says FF3 sucks.
I think Mithrin before has mentioned FF3 as one of their favorites.
Mithrin, did you pull on Xande? Did you get him? Are you good?
I mean, just because FF3 is their favorite doesn't mean they like Xande.
No, that's correct. But I imagine if you polled the community, Final Fantasy III would definitely not be on the.
They don't want to talk about their polls.
Oh, I finally got a Xande weapon. I don't want to talk about my polls either. I don't even know what ticket I'm on. So we'll cover the Lufania in
I think
more
you're dead,
detail.
Mino, unless you summon.
We will cover the Lufania in greater detail in the next episode, which we will also cover Furion, I believe. But to tell you a little bit, you need dark damage. So that's what the orb is. The orb needs dark damage to keep ticking up, constant dark damage. There's some other things that help. Those red auras can be pretty nasty. Cloud is synergy, Beatrix is synergy, Xande is synergy. Zell in Ico are synergy, I guess. I don't think you're going to bring either of them to Lufania. Although Zell, Ico, Cloud, Beatrix, Xande is challenge quest. So, if you don't pull, this could be a interesting challenge quest if you didn't pull.
You didn't bloom, rude.
There is an ability to kind of stomp through this with Cloud and Lightning. So, I wouldn't worry about it too much. But if you pull for Xande, or if you want to try your luck with Vivi, although it's not working real well for Mino right now on stream, you can check that out. Any closing thoughts on Xande, Kreese?
I think we've hit everything that I wanted to say.
Are either of you pulling? Are either of you pulling for Xande?
I haven't decided yet. I did my free pull, and I'm still trying to decide. I wasted a lot more tickets than I expected to on Beatrix, but I still have like 400 tickets, so
cool.
I'm not sure yet. I need to think about what I'm doing in the next on the next 2 weeks, and figure out where I am.
That is a good plan. I don't have any idea how many tickets I've spent. I'm just pressing buttons. So, Arrow, what are you doing?
I don't know. Probably not. I'm going to do my free pull. I know that. Maybe
I'm probably going to go for XDef's LD this time around, because I skipped XDef completely the first time, and I kind of am interested in getting his LD this time around. And I'm going to probably get Furion's LD. So that's 2 LDs I'm going for the next 2 weeks.
Cool.
Well, I don't have a ton of tickets. I don't have I don't have gems to spare, so I don't know.
I'll probably be skipping Xande then, looking at what's coming up. Oh, but shit. If I skip Xande, then I'm probably going to have to actually pull for Diesel's LD. Shit.
Yeah, Dark Knight Cecil is coming with an LD, and he will do dark damage as well. So not party enchant, but will do dark damage. All right, is there any questions, Kreese, from our
I have not looked at the
audience?
podcast questions channel, so I have no clue what we've gotten in the last couple of weeks.
Yes, next month is Ramza LDBT. Next month is the global first LD for the 3rd anniversary of the game. So if your resources are Mino wiped. If your resources are limited, make sure that you're building them up. The nice thing about the game is you can skip a few banners and build back up. So and this may not be a bad tuning pass in the next couple weeks if you're someone messaged me. If you're it's Zeno. Is Zeno live on Twitch? Oh, Zeno's live on Twitch. Somebody give him a hard time. See if he pulls on this banner. That would be TXB Gaming. You can follow our friend Zeno on TXB Gaming.
Okay.
And sometimes casual host.
Looks like there are some quick questions we can do.
Yeah, great.
I'm going to skip some of them because there are some of these are redundant questions that we've answered, sort of similar things that are similar to things we've answered before. So I don't want to repeat them too much. We can do them in the future. Nidra asks, how do you all manage your bells? Do you try to not let them max? Use until the shop is maxed or something else? I've been really lazy about using my bells lately. I've let them just sit capped. I've been just trying to get only what I want out of the co-op shops, because honestly, I've been sitting at cap for high shards, and I have way more high crystals than I could ever use in my lifetime now. So the only thing I go for are the newest tier of crystals from the shop now. So I really only go for what I need out of the co-op shops now. I don't really worry about also only farming artifacts for characters I actually care about, because I have a nice roster of artifacts for most characters at this point. So usually I'm only filling holes or maybe possibly improving artifacts for characters I actually care about. So co-op shops for me, or co-op for me, is just something I do for fun to waste time, or for just collecting the most important rewards from a shop at this point. It used to be something I'd empty the shop every time, and I'm way past the point of... God damn it, Mark.
Oh my god, he got another burst? What the fuck?
He got another burst.
You kidding me?
How I felt with Lightning Burst when I got it twice on tickets. That made me angry.
Okay, so Arrow, what are your thoughts on how do you manage your bills?
I use ×2 books with bells whenever I'm ready to run co-op. It's not that I dislike co-op. It's just that I don't want to spend all my time in game all day anymore. So I enjoy co-op, but I can only tolerate so much co-op too. So I make the time count, ×2 books or ×3 books, clear out my shop or get the points for the raid, and I'm out, for the rest of the time, and I'll just grind choco boards or something when I log in game instead.
I don't care about co-op until I do what I got to do. Either I clear the shop, I did my 20 Cosmos co-ops. I'll do co-op if I'm trying to grind ARPs for characters, and then I don't touch it. I don't feel I got to run my bells. And we were like Macnal Inc. who do like 10 bells a day, who people like Inc. always struggling with weapon ingots. And I don't know, like I'm always capped on all of that, and I don't do co-op every day. So I don't understand that. I don't understand why I have 4 cloud burst weapons either. Yeah. 3 of them came on free multis. That's really great luck for me. The problem is I'm worried that I will never get another burst weapon forever. Which is
luckily you have
which
a
is
lot
fine
of
because I got a whole bunch.
I
got a whole bunch of X. Do I have what? How many extras do I have now?
You can almost afford a second to buy.
3, 4,
Look at
5,
that.
6. I have 6 extra burst weapons. So that's let's keep pulling. I don't. What did I start on? Somebody know what I started on? Yeah. Next question.
Let's see. Whitegraph asks, what banners do you think are the top 3 skippable in the next 3 months? What are your top 3 must-haves in the same time frame? I don't fucking know. Arrow, do you have anything to say about this?
Wow. 3 that I must pull. I guess Furion, duh. He's coming into like in another week. We got Onion. I'm definitely pulling for Onion. I gotta have that LD. And Guy, because FF2, gotta have them all. So I'm excited for those 3. 3 skips though. Ooh, X-Death. Definitely 0% interested in it. No, not a cool kit to me. And it kind of gets dicked over very soon when they start hitting Brave Gain reduction. Ooh, that's gonna hurt him bad. Who else do we have that comes out in this time frame? Oh gosh, I gotta try to remember.
Ramza comes out. Ramza's, let's see, order of births. We got Furion, then Ramza, then Ultimisia, then Onion.
And who comes after Onion?
Piesel.
Oh, that's a skippable one for me. I can't stand.
And then the last burst before in the 3-month time frame is Emperor.
Oh, I don't know about a third right offhand, but I definitely know I'm going to skip P. Cecil, and I'm definitely going to skip X-Death. There's no way I'm pulling for either of those guys.
I'm probably going to be pulling on both Ramza and Caius myself. I don't know who's going to be big skippable for me in the next couple months. I can tell you already I'm probably going to skip Ultimisia's burst. I already have her LD. There's no reason for me to pull it. I'll also be skipping Emperor's burst for the same reason. I pulled for his LD. I don't really care for his burst. I already have the LD. I'm fine skipping his burst. And I don't really know. I'll probably be pulling for Paladin Cecil's LD and burst because I've heard a lot of good things about it. And beyond that, I haven't really given much thought beyond that. Mark?
Yeah, my top 3 are the GL 3rd anniversary, GL first LD. I don't care what it is. I will pull for it. And then Paladin Cecil and then Aranea. Those are my next 3 must-haves over the next 3 months. So, yeah. That's why, I talked about it, I think, in one of my poll videos. I was really nervous going into this era last month because, Sephiroth's a favorite, Cloud's a favorite, Beatrix is a favorite. I really like Reno and Rude, so I really wanted them. And I decided to go all tickets. And so I was just kind of waiting, is it going to bite me in the ass? 300 tickets, 900 tickets, 1,000 tickets. I was just going to use tickets until I didn't have tickets anymore. And I obviously got very, very lucky this last month and a half so far. So, but yeah, moving forward, I mean, I'm going to pull on all of the 2-week synergies. I'll pull on Fury, I'll pull on Ramza, I'll pull on I already have Ultimecia. But in terms of my favorites, Paladin, Cecil, Aranea, and then again, I'll always pull on a GL first, regardless if they end up good or bad. It's always fun to play with that and talk about that. So that's my answer.
Okay, let's see. Next question. This is a really quick question. Some Call Me Brian asks, Final Fantasy Record Keeper updates their menus and themes to fit the current/upcoming holidays. Would you like it if DFFOO did the same thing? I'd like to say DFFOO does it for very specific things, usually just anniversary. So they don't do it as frequently, but they will do splash screen updates, and that's pretty much it. Correct?
Yeah, not anything like in-game menus or anything like that. We don't you don't log in and have the winter background, the summer festival background, the spring background, the beach background like other games.
Oh no.
We'll probably have a third anniversary. We'll have a third anniversary icon for the app, I'm sure. That's about it.
Yeah, I also remember that it's a lot easier to put together like a simple image background for FFRK than it is to make like a 3D rendered background for DFFOO, which is probably part of the reason they don't do it as often. Do you have any thoughts, Arrow?
I would like if they changed the front loading screen more often. I feel like they could do all kinds of things there. They have really nice loading screen art. So it's clear they do illustrations for the game. So it would be cool if they did rotate them more often. Record Keeper kind of goes even further though with like that opening screen, and they have like themed backgrounds, like these pixel arted drawn backgrounds and stuff, where you have like a Christmas theme or a Halloween theme, etc. But DFFOO could definitely do like a loading screen, like at the start of the game, like a title screen, and then maybe change the opening game music every now and then if they wanted to try it out. Those two things I think would be very feasible for them to do.
Yeah. Okay. The true Tonberry King, aka Inkwelder, asks, many people have been frustrated with Rude's event Lufenia despite the mechanics being less punishing than the previous 3 events. Note that this was Christmas Eve that he wrote this, so it's a little delayed. Do you think this is a new trend going forward, that players are truly unable to ignore boss mechanics any longer and must solve the puzzles presented in Lufenia, or is there another reason like difficulty fatigue? I get the feeling it's a little bit more of the latter, that there is some difficulty fatigue starting to creep in. I know I've been feeling that a bit myself.
So let's, Mino is continuing to work on Lufenia, answered some questions for you all today.
Yeah, let's wrap up questions and we'll just wrap up.
Yeah, hold on, let me check something. No, I'll have to download the stream, which is fine, and edit it from there. So, yeah. So let's. Is there any more questions, or just want to move on?
We'll wrap up more questions next week. What is on the schedule for next week?
Next week we'll talk about this Lufenia a little bit, and then I think Furion event as well.
It's mentioned in Tier 19 in the mission dungeon, yeah.
Tier 19 mission dungeon, so, yeah. Thank you all for joining us. This has been episode 134 of the Crystal Chronicles, recorded this January 7th, 2021. Hey, if you're still with us, I don't know who's with us. I did a couple drawings for the trading arts. I have, I think I have 10 total extra trading arts. I have a lightning, a cloud, a squall, lightning, cloud, squall, Pities, and Zidane. Arrow's getting Zidane. But I did draw the winners from our subscribers. So CSAM, I saw CSAM earlier. CSAM, reach out to me. You got one of them. And then HaateXIII, who does our intro narration for us. HaateXIII got another one. So if you guys want to choose one of those 4 remaining, you may do that. And I think then whatever 2 are left over, I'll let people know, and we'll do a drawing for both of those. And then maybe I'll give away all 5 mannequin versions as kind of a set. So for people. So congratulations to CSAM. If you're with us, I'll reach out to you guys. And HaateXIII, I saw them both on stream with us today. And sub, and we'll give away some other trading art. So DFFOO trading arts, figures, and we'll find some other ways to do that around the 3rd anniversary. I think I might give away all the mannequins on the 3rd anniversary so somebody could have a full set of them. They're kind of cool. So thank you to Arrow, thank you to Crease, thank you to Mino Spellgood. Check out all of them, all of their Arrow's channel, over 200 subscribers. Sometimes Crease is on Twitch, Mino Spellgood doing evaluations on Reddit again. All of our friends, the links are below. Thank you, of course, to the Tonberry Troupe, to Rem's Dissidia database, and to Macnol's Dissidia Info, the OO Tracker, our friends Black Nero, all of our friends. Jin Lee's here, J.A has been here, our moderators, just helping us through this all. So until next time, this has been Mark in the Crystal Chronicles. We'll see you next week.